Welcome back to the next episode of Southern Shooters Podcast. We are sitting here with Mike Buckman. You can find him on social medias as Buckman. And man, dude, I've been excited to get you on. I have been seeing you on your on TikTok on your lives, and you were just throwing out, dude. I'm telling you, I've sat there. I watched one of your lives for like 30, 40 minutes of as long as my new one would let me sit there. And dude, you've probably forgotten more about hunting than I'll ever know. And I was like just sitting there. I was like, dude, I hope this guy just throws me a breadcrumb of some of the things that he knows. So, dude, I appreciate you coming on. I really do.
No, man, my pleasure. I appreciate the invite. I love talking hunting. It's in our house. It's hunting, fishing, or baseball. It's one of those three things that are happening. And
Yeah.
hunting is by far like my passion is chasing whitetails with the bow. So in order to make
Mhm.
that happen, you got to be able to get close to them. In order to get close to them, you got to pay attention to a lot of things. And over the years, I've done it
Yeah.
a whole lot wrong. And then by doing it wrong a whole lot of ways, I figured out how to make it right from time to time as well.
Yeah. And that's so how long have you been bow hunting?
Oh man, I guess we're 31 years. Yeah,
Yeah, you've
with a
been doing it
compound.
for a
I
hefty
never
minute.
started with a crossbow. Like I had to wait till I could pull enough weight with a compound to go. They weren't legal back then.
Yeah. Yeah, that's insane. So what state is it that you're hunting out of? Remind me again.
Maryland and Delaware. I live in Maryland, but I hunt Maryland and Delaware.
Okay.
I'm right on the border, so I get to hunt both states.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah,
Without like a
that's
10-minute drive, I'm in Delaware.
are they so they did they allowed the crossbow during archery season now, didn't they?
Yeah, it's been a couple years where it's legalized for everybody. Way back when, you had to have a permit from a doctor. My dad's hunted with a crossbow as long as I can remember. My dad's older. He's 84. So even when I first started hunting, he was on disability. His shoulders were banged up, his elbows were banged up, so he couldn't pull a bow back. So
Mhm.
he's hunted with a crossbow as long as I can remember. That he's hunted with a crossbow. So I've watched the evolution of crossbows for many, many years too. That's been a pretty cool thing to watch happen. But yeah, they legalized it out here for everybody. And both Maryland and Delaware, anybody during archery season, there's not a separate permit. There's nothing you need. It's just go.
Yeah. No, yeah, speaking of the evolution of crossbows and just bows as general, compound bows, I would say in the last 10 years, there has been such an amazing jump. I hate when people when I get these new sailors, right, who are coming into it and, they shoot a bow all summer and they're like, all right, I want to go bow hunting. I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. I'm happy to take you. I'll show you everything that I know. And, I was like, first thing we got to do is we got to get you a bow. We got to get you, get it set up for you specifically. And they get in there and they're looking at all these specs. They're like, oh, this one only shoots at 280 FPS. And I was like, dude, that arrow's moving. Like, I don't think you have any idea. Like, that arrow is falling tail. Like, that is moving. And they're like, well, what brand is best? I'm like, no, we're not getting into that. We're getting into what you can afford and what you're able to do. I was like, if this is your first ever hunt, I do not think that you should go out and buy a $1,500 Matthews. I was like, if you've never even pulled it back on an actual deer, so start with what's in your budget, and then then we can upgrade from there. And so I think a lot of people, and I tell people on the podcast all the time, hunting is as expensive or as cheap as you want it to be.
Absolutely, man. You can spend as much as you want to spend. Ain't no doubt about it.
Like, it really is. And I'm telling you, man, it doesn't matter if you're shooting a Matthews, a Bear, PSE, Hoyt, Bowtech. Man, the cam technology nowadays is so advanced. All of these bows are shooting just unimaginable speeds. So they all work. They all work just fine.
And I've never been a speed guy. Speed is not what kills. Speed corrects our inaccuracies at being able to judge yardage. That's what that helps you with. What
Yeah.
kills is momentum and kinetic energy. Bill, I shoot a super heavy arrow. Like I've like I've geeked out on arrows way back when they made arrows. They made aluminum arrows. Easton made an XX75. They were different shaft size. I used to take a 2315 and put it inside of a 2216, and so I had an arrow shaft inside of an arrow shaft to try to create more weight. Like I wanted to thump. And dude, we used to play around with stuff like that forever, all the time. And the heavier arrow, while it is slower, I don't care what angle a deer's facing. I'm shooting a fixed blade broadhead too. I'm not shooting mechanical. I don't care which way he's facing, which way he's doesn't matter to me. If he comes within that 50-yard bubble and he offers me a shot, he's in trouble. And it doesn't. I don't care. Even on a big mature buck, if he's quartering me, I'm still going to feel just as confident snicking it in that front shoulder, wherever you got to put it, uh, with no problem. With a bow that is, I'm shooting a Hoyt CRX 32. It right at that time frame where things really flipped off. It was one of the early ones to do that. It's a 10-year-old bow.
Yeah.
I just, dude, I've killed so many deer with that thing, and I am just in love with it. I have a hard time getting rid of it.
Yeah, I have so I can't even tell you, man. It was a really really good mentor of mine. He gave me his Hoyt, and this thing, man, is just beat to shit. Like it was just the paint was falling off. Like this that this thing has seen like the stories that this bow could tell. And the mentor that gave it to me, he was doing elk hunts, moose hunts, bear hunts, like you name it, he's probably shot it. And he's
That's
like, this
awesome.
bow, he's like, I just can't pull it back no more. He's like, I want you to have it. And I shot that thing for 12 years. And it wasn't until this year that my wife was like, do you want a new bow? And I was like, no. She was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "No, I don't." And she was like, "Okay, well, I'm not asking you." She was like, I'm telling you, I'm offering you to go buy a new bow if you want to. We've done well this year." And I'm like, "I'll go look, but I'm not going to promise you I'm going to get a new one." I was like, I guarantee you that I could put this bow against anyone else." I was like, "I am so in tuned to this bow that I'm smoking anything that walks out that gives me a decent shot. It's pretty well done." But I did. I ended up actually giving it to the buddy of mine bought it from me. He's young sailor, 19, getting into it, and he's so I've been teaching him hunting and fishing for 3 years that we've been stationed here now. Good kid, man. I love the kid to death, and I can't imagine a better bow or for a better place for that bow to go to. Just as that mentor gave it to me, I gave it to him, and man, I end up upgrading to a Matthews Phase 4, and I was like, wow. I was like, okay. I was like, wow. Technology is a little. It's like I
Yeah, no
shot the
doubt.
bow, and I was like, I didn't even hear it. I was like, did it go off? Was that me? Did I pull? I don't remember actually hitting the trigger. He's like, no, they're quiet. They're quiet, and there's almost no vibration anymore. And I was like, oh, geez. I was like, all right, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, a whole new setup, break-in period, get it right.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I was actually so it's funny that you said, when you were talking about the kinetic energy, right? Like, I really dive deep into that probably I don't know, probably 6 years ago, and I switched from the arrows I was using to the Easton Full Metal Jacket,
Yeah, that's what I shoot now too.
and oh my god, the difference it made! Like
Yeah.
it was noticeable. I mean, the arrow's still screaming, right? Like you're talking about an arrow probably the difference of 3 or 4 miles an hour. Like it's screaming, but the sound it makes when it hits flesh
Oh, totally
is
different.
addicting to me. That is
Oh,
my drug of choice right there. That I chase that. I think about it intimately when I'm asleep. I'm like, that noise, man, is what gets me going for next year.
yeah, that hollow sucking noise when it goes through the chest, like just that, you just know. You're like, oh, that's it. He's done.
Yeah. No, yeah, I've been hunting long enough now where I'm like, I can tell pretty quickly when it hits him. I'm like, all right, I'm getting down. Like, he'll be dead before I even hit ground.
That one's too.
Yeah, he's cooked. He's not going far at all. But that's I think that's something. And I do want to go back. You said you were shooting fixed.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So what made you switch, like, or were you always on fixed and just stayed on fixed, or what made you not want to do mechanical? Like what kind of made that process or decision?
So I had a a really really big deer that I shot quartering away from me at 18 yards. It was quartering hard. Had to put it in like that third, fourth rib from the back to get it
Hmm.
to come out the other shoulder. And it hits big. Everything was perfect, right where we're supposed to, and I get just minimal penetration. Like I know I'm not certain I got the liver, but I know I didn't get deep enough to get the lung.
Mm,
So I watched the deer run off. We trailed him for a long way, and just it was that was ended up being that was the first deer that I lost. Um,
mm.
and it was a big mature deer. Like it was, I mean, not that every deer loss is bad, but to do it on what would have been at that time my best bow buck, It was just a big 6.5-year-old swamp donkey that I hunted for 2 years, and I put a lot of work in and get the opportunity, and then the equipment doesn't do what it should have done. And I chalk it up, mechanical broadhead in between ribs, hit something. It just didn't do what it needed to do. And ever after that, from that point forward, I've shot fixed blade broadheads. I did shoot mechanicals for a little while in one setup I had. I shot Vortex or a 2 blade head. I shot a lot of deer with them, and the only negative side that I saw from them was if they are too close to you and the angle is really steep where you got to hit them real high in the back and it exits real low. The hole is so big that it gets clogged with stuff falling out at the hole. So there's no blood. But 90% of them you watch fall. So having a blood trail is not really a concern. Now, if I watch it fall, I don't need to blood trail it, but I always do. I would always follow
We are
even though I
having some
watched it fall, I
technical
would go to
difficulties
impact
here.
and just look at what kind of carnage was left behind.
See
And
if we can get
there
him
was many
back.
times where there wasn't what I would have liked to have seen. So I, again, just went back to sticking with my fixed blade head, and it doesn't matter what angle. I don't. It doesn't. I'm a shoulder puncher. Like I tend to creep up that front crease of that front leg and stay to the front side of that crease. I don't slip back much. So I'm punching bone and right in that front leg a lot. But with a fixed blade head, I have exit holes every time. I don't ever not punch 2 holes in the deer. Can't tell you how many times I watch guys shoot mechanical broadheads, even with today's bows at 20 yards, and put one in the broadside and don't get an exit hole, just an entry hole. I might have lost you. Show me reconnecting.
All right, so minor, technical difficulties there, but anyway, so yeah, you were telling me about the fixed broadheads.
Yeah, I had a like I said, one bad experience is all it took for me to say I'm not doing this, not going down that path. Like every deer I shoot, I have an exit hole. I have 2 holes every single time. There's never a time I don't have an exit hole. Even if it didn't go all the way through, which is not usually, it always does. It always punches out the other side. I mean, you watched a lot of videos today. These guys, even with the newer bows, I mean, they're shooting fixed blade or mechanical broadheads and hit a broadside shot at 25 yards and don't get an exit hole. You got 1 hole. I always want to, man. I'm not just never been a big fan.
Yeah, I don't know. I think so there's still a lot of, I still have I have a variation of broadheads that I use that I have in the arsenal, right? And there's some days where I'm hunting the open field and I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm right on this cusp of, this tree line. I'm not worried about it. I'm pretty confident that if something comes in within 30 yards, I'm going to use one of my fixed blades. And I don't know. I haven't been able to make that full decision of being like I'm one way or another yet. And it may be because I haven't had that bad experience with mechanical yet, right? Like I've been fairly, I guess, lucky with most of my mechanical shots. I think I actually got away last year. I chose I was not going to shoot him this year. The mega meat. I was like, I'm not shooting him this year. And somebody was like, why? And I was like, the amount of damage that it did. Like I'm a huge meat hunter, right? Like I love to savor everything that I can off that deer.
Right.
Because this is deer that usually last us, year round. So
Absolutely.
um and here in Rhode Island is where I do most of my hunting. You can get $2 and 4 does, right? So it's not like I'm gonna run out, but um, what I do get, I'm not really willing to if that for some reason they duck a little too much and it hits a little high and I'm telling you, man, I hit a doe with a mega meat last year and it just mangled her. And I was like, no, I'm never again. I was like, I'm not doing that. I was like, I don't like, I hunt with morals and ethics that I hold above all else. And I'm here for ethical shots, right? Humane shots. And I want to treat this animal with as much respect as it deserves. And when I see like, when I get up to it and it looks like a friggin' 6.5 inch hole, like it looked like I would have shot it with 30-06 and I shot it with a bow at 20. I'm like, no, never again. I was like, I'm not doing it. Mega meat, if you guys do shoot mega meat for all you listeners, that's fine. It's just not for me. It's not something that I'm willing to do again. I've shot a lot of really good ones. The Beast broadheads, fantastic. Shoot those, are great. Um, I actually am shooting one right now from VIP Archery. Matt down in VIP Archery, fantastic broadhead. It's not terrifying, it doesn't mangle them. So, I, I'm really big on morals and ethics, man, and being respectful. And when I see those just exit wounds, man, I'm just like, oh, that hurts.
Yeah, but it's doing its job.
Oh, no, it does. No, it does it quick. There's no doubt about it. It is a fast acting broadhead. I think she ran literally like 10 yards, and bled out right there. No issues. She did a full backflip. She did the whole dance for me. No issues at all. It's just that's just not how. No, I don't like that. But you know, um, but let's get into a little background with you, man. So you said your family grew up hunting, right? This is something that you guys been doing for forever. What would I guess one of the biggest things is like, and it really tells me like kind of how you grew up with hunting and how your family was is, how would you describe your hunting style and philosophy from, being a traditional hunter that grew up learning from family that's being passed down, not being someone that just learned how to do it within the last 10 years?
So it's a yes and no. My dad was he deer hunted, but he just went out and kind of picked a spot and set, and that's where he hunted. Right? He
Yeah.
didn't really spend a whole lot of time scouting, putting in the homework. Like he just knew if he went to these places, he killed deer on it on most cases. Um, Set on field edges, wasn't really in the woods, wasn't paying attention to terrain, things like that. I think he hunted. It was either 6 or 7 years when he started hunting. He hunted 6 or 7 years without ever taking a deer for his first 6 or 7 years hunting when he started. Um, so I don't ever remember a time frame where I wasn't in the woods. Like I don't remember any point where I was not involved in hunting or fishing. And as I got a little bit older and started understanding more of it better, uh, like 13, 14, there was a local sporting goods shop here and I got a job there. So I worked there. And this was a small family owned truck accessory sporting goods store, just a house converted to a store. Like
Yeah.
a ton of people came through that place. And being young, and I'm ADHD, so I kind of have to understand the why behind things, and I ask a lot of questions.
Hmm.
And these older guys came in there. They were all guys that lived off the land. They trapped, a ton of them trapped. So I was like, well, can I go with you? And they all were always welcome for it and let me tag along with them. And I'd go trapping with guys that grew up in the marsh and just woodsmen to their core. Like what these guys showed and taught me at a really young age and let me pester them and ask them all kind of questions about, well, why this, why that, why doing that? And sometimes they would be like, dude, I never thought why I was doing anything until I took you with me. He's like, and now I think about it. He's like, the questions you ask are good questions. He's like, but I've never explained it out loud to try to even figure it out myself. He's like, so in explaining to what I'm doing to you, why I'm doing what I'm doing, he's like, I know there's always going to be a why. So now I'm always thinking, well, why am I doing this time? Or why am I doing it this way? He's like, and it's just second nature because I've been doing it for so long. But when I start putting two and two together, I understand why I'm doing things. So when they started explaining everything like that to me in a way that I understood it and what they're looking for, how they read sign to trap and to be successful trapping, you got to be a good woodman. Like you can't,
Hmm.
you can't not understand and know what you're doing and be a successful trapper. So that was what I got my feet wet with, if you will, was learning how to trap versus hunt to initially start. And then it got into deer hunting. I mean, I was hunting deer at that time, but I was just where we were is where we were. I didn't have any say in where that was at that point. And then we had two private properties that we got that I started putting time and I'm like, all right, I could get to them. I started driving at that age. So I was scouting all the time, walking in the woods, figuring out what I'm looking at, understand how to read sign. I'm telling dad, all right, dad, we're going to change where we got stands. I'd move things around. We'd set things up. And then things started getting to where it was a lot better, like where we were paying attention how you're getting in the woods, paying attention to wind, like all those little things that you got to really, really understand to be consistently successful with getting on good deer. I mean, even at a young age, like I wanted to kill big deer. Like there's something about that. You watch the TV shows. Like I grew up watching, like Dan Fitzgerald, like way back when they first started, and Bob Folkrod, another guy that I loved growing up watching. And these guys were shooting just whatever. It didn't matter. They weren't like nothing against the real tree team, like Jackie Bushman and all them guys. they're going on to the Milk River and they're shooting these giant deer, but somebody else is doing most of the scouting and they're just putting them in a stand. Where these other guys were going out and showing you how to get it done in your backyard, like how to be more successful where you have opportunities to hunt. Everybody doesn't have that the luxury to be able to go out to a guide, right? You got to do what you can do with what you have where you have it. And when I started getting really good at that is when I was like, okay, I was able to drive 16, 17, but back and then that's what really triggered it. And it's been, it turned from a passion to a full bore obsession at that point, and it's been that way
Yeah.
ever since, man.
Yeah, I tell people, especially the new listeners, like if you have the opportunity to talk to these old guys who are like, during hunting season, who are sitting in a convenient, in a gas station, drinking a cup of coffee, smoking a cowboy killer, and they're sitting there, and you can tell like those guys sometimes have forgotten more about hunting than you could ever even begin to know, and that's where I really started to get better. My dad grew up, whitetail hunting, but I surpassed him probably when I was, I don't know, probably 12 or 13, because I spent time. I'm one of those, I'm one of these people that when I like something, I become fully invested into it and I learn everything there is to know about it. I'm like, all right, why am I looking at topography? Why do I care about an old logging road? Why do I need to know what a shelf is? Why do I need to know why, in between two ridges, a bottomland is so well? Like, why do I care about any of these things? What is wind? What the hell does wind have to do with anything if I'm 30 feet in the air? Those are things that I never really cared about. And then once I did start caring, I was so much like it was almost overnight how much more successful I was on every single hunt. I went from maybe going, you know, 7 to 10 hunts without seeing anything to going to like maybe 1 or 2, and like I was consistently on deer. And so like I was like, I'm in it. I was like, I'm fully invested. But I think that's the thing that, a lot of these new hunters that I think a lot of them are missing. And I see it on social media all the time, you know, um, man, just do the homework, put boots on the ground. I promise you. And I love scouting. I think scouting is so much fun. I like going out there and hiking and just reading the book that Mother Nature left for me, and I get to decipher what it says just based on like, I take my wife and she's like, you turn into like a crackhead when you go out there. She's like, you're just all over the place. And you're like, do you see this? And she's like, yeah, it looks like friggin' mud. And I'm like, it's not mud. It's actually, and she's like, and then you get into this whole, she's like, I don't care. She was like, I don't. She was like, just bring home a deer. That's all I care about. So like, you know, um, I tell people, and I don't know how you feel about it, but I tell people that if I don't scout twice as much as I hunt, I probably won't hunt because I didn't actually learn anything. I'm not gonna go out there and waste my time. I'm not gonna go out there and, spend mornings and afternoons away from my family. Trust me, I do enough of it in the military. I'm not doing any more of it. I love being in the woods. I think it's an amazing place. I think it's so healing. I think it's my therapy, but I also want to be successful. I'm not going to sit out there and be cold and wet, or being in the snow, um, and not have some success come out of it. So I make it a rule where I scout twice as much as I hunt. So if I put in, 6 hours of hunting, I've put in 12 hours of scouting.
Yeah, I mean that's a good rule of thumb to live by. I I'm a very firm believer over the last 6 or 7 years or so. Like I hunt a lot smarter than harder. Like I geek out on individual deer. Like when I find a deer that I want to target, and I'm on state land, so everybody can target this deer. It's not like it's not I don't it's not like I got a 500-600 acre farm, nothing like that. Like I'm hunting where everybody else can hunt. But when I hone in on a deer and I'm like, all right, that's the one that I want, I geek out on that pretty bad. So I know a lot of the territories, and I spend a ton of time in the woods. So once I find him, and then I know what the areas are, like I'll you wait, you watch, you pattern, and when I go in to go kill him, it usually happens in the first. If it's not the first sit, it's the second or third time in, or it's probably not going to happen. I screwed up. Like, but it's
Yeah.
usually when I'm going in to go get him, I'm going in to go get him. Like that's why I'm going there for that deer. But while in the interim of waiting for that to be an opportunity to present itself, I'm always out somewhere else trying to, never know, those randos pop up or show through, especially during the rut. But or you're filling the freezer with does, whatever it is. Um, but that's always been my approach over the last couple of years. Hunt smarter, not harder. But spending more time scouting is paramount. Understanding the properties you're hunting and how things happen and why they happen is
Yeah.
huge, man. When you can
Yeah, I think
predict what's going to happen before it happens and tell somebody this is what's going to happen, and then it unfolds that way, they're like, "Well, how'd you know that?" Well, just just understanding deer and the property that you're hunting. That's how you can do that.
yeah, no, I can't agree more. And I think these new hunters, man, you guys have it. Yeah, man. Like you all have such nice things, man. Like things that I never had growing up. Like I used to literally use the Farmer's Almanac to decide for like when I was gonna hunt, and like I was like, okay, pressure is gonna be high during this time, and I would wake up at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'd watch the morning news, and I'd wait for them to say the barometric pressure, and I'm like, okay, cool, and I would wait for them to tell me the wind. I'm like, okay, I have a stand for that. I would place stands, based on every wind possible. And I'm like, all right, maybe it's not a great day for this spot. And I'm really not wanting to go to it, but the wind is telling me that I've got to go to this spot. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I've got to go hunt this spot, man. And, now you've got like, and I use it. I use Onyx. I think Onyx is a wonderful app. I use it pretty religiously. I have. I think right now, if somebody actually opened my Onyx app, they would think that I have something wrong with me, because I have probably 700 waypoints of like, if I'm walking through and I see trails, right? I'm like, boom, let me mark it down. If I go in and I put a stand up that, you know, I see a deer 80 yards away, and the next hunt I see him again at 80 yards away, I'll delete that one and move it over. And like, you guys have it really, really nice. And I just bought a cell trail camera. We were talking about this before we started recording, and like, man, those things are nice, dude. Like, those are nice.
They can
Like
be an addiction. There ain't no doubt about it.
man, I think the first 3 days that I had it deployed, I was just sitting on my phone. And I was just scrolling up to update. I'm like, I'm gonna get something, man.
Oh
Something's
yeah.
coming through this phone. Just wait. And then all of a sudden, I got a text message, and I forgot what I was doing. I think it was like changing my son or something, or we were doing bath time, and it was like your camera in stand 3 got a new image, and I was like, I told my wife, she was sitting next to me. I was like, take the baby. And she was like, what? And I was like, take the baby. She was like, what are you talking about? I was like, grab the child. I was like, my camera just got something, and it was literally a raccoon. But I was so excited that I didn't have to go and pull the SD card and then like take it to my house and look on the camera or look on my laptop. It's really, really nice, man. So I think those are great things, man. But and you touched on based on it a little bit, but I want to kind of break down a little bit more for those new hunters, man. Walk me through your scouting process, and like, what's your system? Like, how do you, like, you've done it for so long now that it's got to be almost second nature.
Yeah. And so, like, let's say I have a new property. I'll start from that point. So if I gain access to a new property, the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to aerial photos. Now LiDAR is where I'm at now, but before it was just aerial photos, looking at what satellite images show. And even way back when, you could find different months or different time, maybe not different months, but different times of the year when you can see the satellite photo. So there will be green up, then you'll get to the point where it'll be fall or winter, and there'll be no leaves on the trees, and you can kind of see where transition lines and stuff are when you don't have leaves on the trees.
Mhm.
Now, today's apps, you can get month by month satellite imagery. So it makes it even that much easier to do this. But so I start with that point, and then I pick what points I want to put boots on the ground. So I'm being as effective as I feel like I can be when I have the time to go spend, because you don't always have time to go walk a whole every inch of a property. So I try to capitalize on the time that I do have, pick the points that I want to go put boots on the ground from the aerial photos, and I'm looking for funnels, I'm looking for pinch points, I'm looking for undulation changes, I'm looking for things, little draws, things like that are there to go put boots on the ground and see which ones have fresh sign, which ones show up. And I mark, like you said, your when you open up your app, there's mine's the same way. I have trails, and all mine are all different colors, because each color,
Mhm.
this is something they need to fix. This is the app. I'm going to build this feature for an app. They don't make this, but they need to. Each one of my marks are different colors for different years. So one year I pick this color, I do this. Next year I'm doing this color. Next year I'm doing this color. So I can correspond over, like, all right, year over year, I always have these signs here in these areas because of this. Like, this field crop is beans this year. My signs are here. Now this field's corn. now my signs aren't here; they're here. It's different. They prefer this field when it's bean as opposed to corn, or now it's sorghum because it's something different they're planting now. But you get different reactions from different crops that are out there. So the deer are going to be in different places as an example of that. What I wish I could do is take year over year maps and just keep everything the same and then image over it and fade it out so I can see faded over top of each other year over year
Yeah.
and just trade the transparency. You know what I mean? So I'm working with somebody. We're gonna build something that allows that to happen. I think that will be game changer, at least for the way I do it, the way I scout. And then from there,
Yeah.
it's boots on the ground, man. You're just looking for that sign, but paying attention to what sign you're seeing, understanding fresh sign versus old sign, and looking for last year's sign just the same. Especially if it's the first time in a property, look for last year's rubs. Look for those types of signs that you can see. And if you're seeing last year's and this year's, that tells you a little bit more. Looking for doe bedding versus buck bedding. You're always it's doe trail. The trails that you see in the woods most times are going to be from adolescents and does. Those are the ones that travel the same corridors. They're walking single foot behind each other, so they leave a pretty obvious path of where they travel most times. A lot of those trails are not going to be your big mature buck trails, but they're going to be deer trails, so they're going to give you that activity. And then from there, branch out, try to find the buck beds, try to find where they are. And in most cases, they are in the same type of terrain features in properties as you go from place to place. So if you know what you're looking for terrain wise, you can really hone in and narrow in on where you want to spend boots on the ground. And then from there, it's figuring out, okay, this is where I want to be. The next big problem and the hurdle that most people fail at, I think a lot of people can go in and pick the right stand. I think they can pick even the right tree, the right trails. All of that's all good. Where they fail is figuring out how to get in and out of that spot. Then that's the next step. All right, I know where I want to be. How do I get here? If he's here and this is where he's bedded and this is where the group of does are going to be, how do I get in where I need to be without being detected to close the deal? That part is that's my most favorite part of it all. Figuring out when and how to slip in and be where I need to be when I need to be there without them knowing you're there.
Yeah. And I think that's a skill set that you don't learn until you're taught it. I think that's a skill set that unfortunately failure is what's going to teach you that skill set. And I think a lot of the new
100%.
hunters, you're unfortunately, unless you have someone, like Mike or, someone who's been hunting for, 10, 12 years, and even people who have hunting 10, 12 years, they still don't really understand that skill set, right? There's a really good guy. I've been watching him for as long as I can remember. Mike Dury from Dury Outdoors, and I used to watch him on Sportsman Channel and the Pursuit Channel every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. And one of the things that he would always put on his channels, and I never understood why it was so important to him, was he was like, I would clear a trail going into my stand and coming out of it with as little touch to that field that I'm hunting as possible. I don't want to be anywhere near, I don't want to spook anything. You don't really understand the domino effect and a lot of people are going to tell you when you're walking into your stand and you spook a deer, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You have no idea how much that actually does affect. It's a ripple effect. Those does that you spooked or that buck that you spooked is going to move out, and any deer within that vicinity, they're gone too. So I think that's a skill set that unfortunately, unless you have someone that can teach you, you learn by mistakes and you learn by failure. So I really, really appreciate you pulling that one out, because that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one.
Yeah, and I can back what you're saying by learning from failure because I can't tell you how many times I thought it was going to be one way and go in there and realize nope, it wasn't the way I thought it was going to be, and I messed that opportunity up. I could always find them and pick them and be where I needed to be, and I was successful a good clip, like better than 50% of the time. But I felt like it could still be and should be way better than that. And when
Yeah.
you really start paying attention to detail and the little things and especially now having trail cameras, like the data that you can get from trail cams it's awesome. Like year over year data is how you really learn, and it's how I've learned and educated myself more than any other way. Is just watching why things are what they are and when they happen. And it's
Mhm.
uncanny how I've had deer on properties that show up the same 3 days within a 3 day window every year, year after year for 4 or 5 years in a row. The same deer come onto this property, same deer, multiple properties, same situation where they show up within that same 3-day window. I know that there's been deer that I went out and put an arrow in, and I know it was the first time he ever stepped foot on my property, and I put an arrow in him. Like, I just waited for the right day. This is the window. This is when I got to go. It just so happened it was day one that I hunted, is day one that he showed up, and I was able to put an arrow in that deer, and that was late October. Put an arrow in that deer the first time he ever showed up on my property. I was able to be there waiting for him, and it was the fourth year in a row he did the same thing. And when you start putting little pieces like that together and then have success, especially with a deer you have history with, like you said, I geek out on certain deer. Like I'm chasing the same deer for 2 years. Now he's 6.5. He's 7.5 years old. I got sheds from him from 2 years in a row, match sets, a left side from the other year. And then when you finally do close a deal on one like that, it is a different, at least for me, it is a different feeling. It's a different experience. It's a, it hits, it's a bittersweet type thing. You know, you walk up on that deer laying on the ground and, you know, you think about it, you literally are the first person to put hands on this deer, and to, you know, to take all that in, and just the respect that you have for the animals, you know, to outwit one of them that's 6.5, 7.5 years old, and to do it with a bow and to get them within 25, 30 yards of you, it hits home different when you do it with one you got history with. And dude, there's something about that that I absolutely love.
No, I can't agree more. I tell people all the time, I like to, compare, I guess, in a sense, the excitement that you have on your first deer, like the first one you've ever killed successfully by yourself. When you've put in time and you've put in effort and you are, hunting, let's say you're hunting public, even if you're hunting private, it doesn't really matter, and you've put in time and effort and you've actually, like, it's consumed your entire thought process of, like, how can I be one step ahead of this damn thing?
Right.
I don't, and it is going to be a chess. Like, this isn't a game of checkers, this is a game of chess, right? He doesn't want to be found, especially these big mature deer. They don't want to be found, they don't want to be found, they don't want to be shot, obviously. And for you to always try to be one step ahead, he's not only trying to battle you and being another step ahead of you. It's just such a chess match that when you finally are successful, man, I'm telling you, I genuinely, there was the one deer that I have, of a similar situation. It was a 3.5 year battle with this freaking buck, and it was, um I fought it tooth and nail, man. I was like, man, I'm one step ahead of him. I'm like, ooh, we got pressure in, we got a cold front. I was like, I know exactly where he's gonna be, and he'd be on the other end of the friggin' field. And I'm like, yeah, you gotta be kidding me. It's like, there's no freaking way. There's no way. I was like, I know where you're supposed to be, and you know where you're supposed to be. Why are you not there? And oh
Because
man,
you're
it's
there.
such a feeling.
Because you are there. That's why he's not there, man.
Yeah, yeah, and it's every time, man. And I think, that's one of the things that I would say, is, man, for you new hunters, I can't wait for you to experience that. Like, it is, even to those who have been hunting for 12, 5 to 10 years, man. If you're just a meat hunter and you've never built a personal relationship with an animal, and you're like, I refuse to be outsmarted, and you continuously get outsmarted, it's aggravating, man. Like, it's truly, it just, oh my god, it infuriates you, and then all year round you're thinking about this animal and it consumes your brain, and he has no idea who you are, and you're like, but I know who you are. And then you get a photo of him next year and you're like, oh, oh, you survived. I was like, oh boy, thank god. You ain't
Here we
getting through
go
this
again.
year.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
here we go. Right, round two. But so, like, big thing that I think a lot of people, because you said you hunt state land right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I've
a lot
always
of
hunted
the,
public. I mean, I've
oh,
had
you,
private pieces, but I've always, even when I had private pieces, I'm still chasing them on public. We
oh,
got
okay,
really good
yes,
public land around here.
yeah. You guys aren't far from me. I need to get down there. You guys aren't terrible. It's not far at all.
Yeah, come on, man. I'll
Yeah.
share my pins with you. I'll show you where to go. You can figure it out.
Yeah, I need to get down there, man. But so I think, what's a big strategy that you have when, you're hunting pressured public land deer, man. I think that's a big thing that a lot of new hunters really struggle with.
The biggest thing that I pay attention to, different tracks that we have attract different types of hunters. If that makes, like, there's groups of guys that'll hunt because they want to be able to see a long way. Like these hunt, like, and it's gun season, archery season. I don't have to worry about anything. Archery season, I go in and I do my thing wherever I want to do it, and I really don't have to worry about much pressure. It's when the Orange Army hits is when you gotta when all this, what I'm talking about, applies. Different types of properties draw different types of hunters. Like some guys want to be able to sit field edges and just see a long way away. And if they can just see a deer in their hunt, they're happy, right? Like even if they didn't be able to get it, like just go sit on a field where they feel like they're gonna have a better chance of just seeing a deer, and one of them's going to walk by or come close enough and they're going to be able to reach out and touch it. Then there's your other hunters that want to get away from hunters, so they're looking for, smaller areas, different places. And the biggest thing that I draw back from is understanding where pressure comes from and how much of it is applied to these places. The bigger tracks draw more people, but they're more spread out. So the overall pressure, while there is more people on these bigger tracks, the overall pressure the deer feel is a lot less because most people are pretty lazy. They don't really go in. They
Yeah.
don't push in. They just go where it's convenient and it looks like they can see a long way. And in some situations it sets up where they're in the right spot. Most times it's not. So while pressure is there, it's not bad pressure, if that makes sense. Like they're not in there bumping them out of their beds. They're not in their face. They're there, but they're existing. They're not really applying much actual pressure to the deer because they're not in the right place. So if you pick up on that and see that, and you know where guys are hunting, you see stands, you see signs that they've climbed a tree with a climbing stand or anything like that, and where that pressure is, and then hunt from that, back off of that, and figure out where the deer go after pressure applied. The biggest thing that I do that I gain most intel from for state land is late season. I spend a ton of time scouting in season, late season, and then spend a ton of time after season shed hunting and scouting these properties. Then understanding where deer want to be once pressure's applied. When as soon as pressure's applied, you know where to start, you know where to shift to, you know where to be at that point. So when you can be out in front of it and know where to be when the pressure's going to come and already be there, I've had some pretty awesome hunts, taking that approach.
Yeah, I think, and I've noticed it a lot, obviously as a bow hunter, I think we always are, and we'll forever always have to fight the Orange Army, right? Like it's inevitable. And but what I noticed a lot is, so one of the things that I did when I first got up to when I got stationed here, I was like, man, I was like, I'm gonna hunt Rhode Island, and I started hunting Rhode Island, and I actually called the Fish and Wildlife office, and I talked to him for a little bit, and I was like, hey, I just wanted to ask a couple questions. I just want to make sure that A, I'm doing it legally and I've got everything that I need. But two, I was like, I just want to pick your brain for a minute. And you'd be surprised at like how much information these fish and wildlife officers will give you. They want you to be successful. They really do. And so one of the guys I was talking to was his name was Steven, I think it was. I was asking him and I was like, hey, I'm gonna hunt this property. And he was like, okay. He's like, what are you hunting? And I was like, deer. And he's like, weapon. And I was like, bow. I only hunt bow. And he's like, there's a old logging trail. He was like, that's not gated. Not a lot of people know about it. He was like, if you go, he told me exactly how to get there. It is still the way that I use, and I've never ran into anybody there. And I'm like deep. I'm like way back in it, doing it that way. And I only walk like at this point now, I'm only walking like 0.2 miles. Like I'm not going far at all. And it's a open trail, massive sand on the bottom, can be super quiet, and then I jump off and into the woods where I'm going, and I'm in my tree and within probably 20 minutes. And I'm not having to walk 2 miles, because I get a lot of comments where somebody's like, "Oh, I had to walk 2.5 miles and I still ran into people." Be like, "Why are you walking 2.5 miles?"
Yeah, that's the other thing. If you have limited access of where you have to access properties from, because some of our state properties say, in order to hunt here, you have to park here, and this is the only place you can park. So you can't, your access, unless you're taking an e-bike or a pedal bike, or you're parking your vehicle and making a big loop and walking all the way around. You have to access from this point. When that is the case, and most guys walk in and out from those areas that they're restricted to, I really pay attention to the areas within 150 to 200 yard of that.
Yeah,
Deer,
yeah,
big deer know and understand where pressure comes from and when it comes in. I have found so many sheds late season in beds where when you take and you look from where that deer's perspective is, and you get down in that bed and you see, all right, this is where the deer is. Why is he here? Why is he looking? Which way do I think he's facing? I delve into that all the way. But so many times those beds are situated in situations and places that if you're facing towards where the parking lot would be and where people come in, when people get there, you can see it. You literally, they know when you get there before you're ever there.
Yeah.
Whether or
Yeah.
not they get up and bugger from it, that's not the point. They know you're there. They
I think there
watch
was
so
a
many people walk from their car down a stand trail. It's amazing how often that happens.
think there was like an actual statistic not long ago, and I'm gonna find it. And if I find it, that's gonna be my homework for you guys that are listening. And I don't remember who it was. There's a statistic that like when it is that situation, right? Like you have to enter from this point, right? And there's only like maybe one or two of them, right? Um, if you don't go far, like you really don't go far at all, um, you'll still be more successful than somebody who walks like 2 miles.
Absolutely.
And I think that's just so funny to me. I haven't tried it yet. I'm still it's still on my bucket list of things to do. To have this guy who's like coming back and he's just drenched in sweat, and I'm like, "Where'd you go?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm like 3 miles away." And I'm like, "Dude, I just killed this nice buck, not even 110 yards away from the truck."
Yeah, he
You
died
know,
50 yards from my truck,
yeah, he pretty much put himself in the back,
right?
like, yeah. So it's still one of the things that I really, I really, really, really want to do. I really want to try. But I think that's a big thing. And then for those of you guys who are listening, man, don't be afraid of public. Like,
Not at all.
stop being afraid of public. It's and another thing, and for two reasons, right? One, it's not scary. These are hunters who, I'm not saying that everyone is nice. Please don't think that I'm saying that. Not everybody is generous and wants to be, wants everybody to be successful. Not everybody wants to be that way. There are a lot of people who, make me really, really angry. But public's not scary, man. Like, it's really, really not. If you're doing what you need to do and you're following the rules, like I know here in Rhode Island, one of the things is as soon as deer season starts, you have to be wearing 200 square inches of orange, and like if you're following the rules, a lot of people in public are really nice. And if you're just sitting there and you guys kind of come out at the same time, you just kind of, you guys are just, shooting the shit and talking, you can get some information from them and vice versa. I'm always that way, especially people who I know, like when you walk in, and I've been hunting long enough now, I know what Walmart camo looks like. And, I can tell somebody who probably this is like their first or second season hunting. And I'm like, "Hey man, where you been hunting?" And they'll talk to me and I'm like, "You been successful?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, come here. Let's break it down." And then I'll break down kind of like what they need to start looking for. I'm not going to give them my spots, obviously, but I'm going to help them out a little bit. And I think those are things that in the hunting community is such a big thing when we have the general public who look down on us and they think of us as ruthless killers. What first thing we need to do is we need to fix the competitiveness that is inside of our own community. We need to stop sitting here and beating somebody up. I don't care if you hunt with a crossbow. I don't care if you hunt with a bow or a gun or a shotgun or a freaking blow dart gun. I don't care. I care that you do it legally. I care that you do it ethically. And I care that you do it in a way that is humane. Like, that is the only things that I care about. You cross all of those boxes for me. Sweet. Awesome. Me and you are going to be happy. I'm going to help you drag that deer out. Wonderful. Um, I think those are big things, man. Have you seen that? Have you seen how like competitive it's been recently? Especially like in like the last 5 years.
Dude, one of my biggest pet peeves is the negativity towards other hunters and what they chose to shoot. Like,
Yeah.
I got into a back and forth with a guy. Like, a guy posted a deer that he shot. It was his first buck with a longbow. It was a self-made bow, and he posted a
Yeah.
picture of it. I mean, it's a basket rack. I don't know if it was a 6 or an 8, but it was his first rack buck with his first self-made bow, and he posted the picture with his kid and his wife in the picture. The deer laying down, the bow's laying across the deer, and his kid and his wife are in the picture. And he posts this picture. Very first comment: "I'd have let that deer go another year." And I'm like,
I
dude,
hate that.
if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say nothing at all. I was like, maybe it doesn't come off as negative to you in your mind, but you got to think about how it's perceived from the person who put the post up. If somebody's telling them they wouldn't have shot what they just shot, that's negative. There's no two ways around it, in my opinion. Like, you're being condescending, you're being judgmental, it's perceived as those things. That's how it comes off. And
Yeah.
regardless of whether or not it is one you would shoot or not, it does not matter. Just be happy for somebody else that's happy. If they posted a picture about what they shot, they're doing it because most times, if they're not trying to just cause, a ruckus and shake things up, they're genuinely posting it because they were happy. They were proud in what they did. don't take
Mhm.
that away from them in any way because we don't know anybody else's story. We don't know how much time they have to get out and hunt. You don't know how much time they have to get out and scout. Like some people only have a very limited time because they live as we all know, life is crazy, dude. Life is busy and it can absorb a ton of time doing whole bunches of other things that you have to do, your responsibilities, your duties, whatever they are, to where your opportunity to get out in the woods is very minimal. So if a legal deer walks in front of you and that makes that person excited and that's what they want to shoot, by all means, man, don't knock somebody for doing that. We don't know enough about somebody's story to judge them on anything for any reason in any aspect of life at all, but much less the animal that they choose to take and the means in which they choose to take it. I agree with you 100%. Like I don't care what you shoot, man. You can shoot crossbows, rifles, shotguns, longbows, self-made bows, all of that. That's all great. None are there harder levels? Is it harder to do it and accomplish it with certain ones? Absolutely. Does it make you any less of a hunter if you use any other one? Absolutely not. Whatever you have the means of that make you be successful to be able to do it, like you said, ethically, you owe it to the animal to be able to do it in a mean that is going to be quick and as painless as possible as you can there. And for people that shoot a crossbow that recognize that one, they won't put the time in or the effort that it takes to be as well as you should be with a compound bow, then what they need, if they know that and they recognize that, then I would rather them shoot a crossbow because they're going to be more effective. They're going to be way more deadly with a crossbow than they are with a compound. I'd rather them kill every deer they shoot at than shoot at two or three and kill one. Like I respect somebody that understands that they're not going to put the time and dedication it takes to do it with a compound the way that it should be done for the respect of the animal. Shoot a crossbow. I'm all for it, dude. Like I don't care what you do it with. Just do it like you said, legally, ethical, and just be positive to anybody else who posts anything. Don't be negative about nothing. It's like that irks me to my core more than anything. And
Yeah.
that's our downfall as hunters is being negative. Hunters being negative to hunters is that'll if there is ever a demise to what we do, we're going to be our own demise, not the antis. It's going to be us blowing up our own community because of how we treat other people that do things differently than what we do.
Yeah, I can't agree more, and I think a lot of people who are new listeners and like I said, one of the biggest things that I'm trying to do is bridge that gap between the general public and the outdoors community, right? I have friends, who I serve with who are from all over the world, right? And some of them, the thought of what I do is just insane. Like they're just like, you'll go sit in the woods, you'll walk in there in dark with nothing more than a bow and arrow, and you'll go harvest a wild animal and bring it back. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I do. And they're like, I was like, why don't you come try it? Like come with me, right? Um I actually had the opportunity last year to take out a very, 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 very strict, like die-hard vegan, right? And I was like, I begged and begged and begged. I was like, what do I got to do to get you out there with me? Like, name your price within reason. I'll do it. And she was like, you gotta eat vegan for like a month. And I was like, deal. I was like, it's gonna suck, but deal. And I was like, so I got her out there and we got done. We didn't even see anything. Like we literally we didn't see a single thing. I think we saw like an owl and like maybe a coyote or something. Like nothing crazy at all. But I got her out there in the sunrise, like early morning, man, when it is gorgeous. When the woods is quiet and you get to listen to the woods wake up first thing in the morning. That if I could bottle that feeling up and just drink it year round, man, I'd be a billionaire by now. And we got back to the truck and it's something I've always done. It's something my dad did and something I grew up watching on the hunting camp and that I grew up in. And I put my bow away and I get my gear off and I put it in my box and then I change into my clothes and I go right before I get in the truck. I turn around and look back at the woods and I say, thank you for allowing me to come in. Thank you for allowing me to come out safely. Just something that I've always done. It's something I've always watched. And I get in the truck and we're driving back and it is like pitch quiet. And I'm like, oh, she hated it. I was like, oh, dang it. It's like, man, I was thinking, I thought this might have won her over. And she kind of sat there and all of a sudden she broke the silence and she said, I understand. And I was like, I'm sorry. And she was like, I get it now. She was like, I understand now. She's like, obviously I didn't watch you kill anything. She was like, and I don't want to watch you kill anything. She was like, but I understand why you do it now. She was like, that was the most amazing morning I think I could ever remember. She was like just watching the sun break through the trees, listening to the woods wake up. She was like, "I understand why you are so obsessed with it." And I was like, "Listen, I'm gonna cry right now, and I'm just letting you know this in full in advance." And like I'm telling you, man, it's such an amazing feeling. And a lot of the general public, man, the first thing that they see is what we post on social media, right? And if we are sitting here and we're bullying people in our own community, we're poo-pooing the things that they're doing on social media, right?
Yep.
There's a guy on social media, and I don't know if you've seen him. He's on TikTok, and this is like his first season hunting, and he's um bigger black guy, love him to death. He's so funny. He's so funny, and he is like learning through comments that people are giving on his videos. And he bought a saddle stand. He learned how to saddle hunt, and he's saddle hunting all within one season, which is, by the way, is impressive as it is. And he's not only doing that, he's doing it with a bow. Like he spent like a week learning how to bow hunt, and he just got his first deer the other day. Dude, when I tell you how excited I was for this random stranger I've never met before a day in my life, I'm trying to get him on the podcast because I really want to talk to him. But um, one of the things that I saw on the comments that made my blood boil was he killed a doe, big nanny doe, killed a doe, and somebody goes, "I can't believe you would shoot a doe." And he was like devastated. He was like, "Did I do something wrong? What did I do? I I promise I didn't mean anything by it." And like he's thinking now that he's done something wrong because somebody in the community has something bad to say. And I'm telling you right now, I crawled all over that guy. I was like, "Stop bullying other people, dude. Leave him alone." I was like, "Dude, you did nothing wrong. You were successful, and you fooled a doe." And I don't think you have understand how impressive that is. Does are hard to like, and you will be. I've been picked off by more does than I have bucks in my life. And I'm telling you right now, man, I was like, "I'm proud of you." Me and you are going to celebrate it like it's 1999. The rest of the community was behind him, backed him up. But yeah, when people poo-poo other stuff that we post, oh, that makes me so mad. It gets me just irritated.
But yeah, I got a very short fuse for that, man.
Very. I have a lot of patience, man. I've gotten patience over the years, not for that,
Yeah,
zero.
no,
But
100%.
yeah, man, I think that's a huge thing, and I don't think we're going to be able to fix the general public's view of us until
Nope.
we fix ourselves first.
Yep.
You know, Um, I'm okay with a little friendly banter, you know? I'm okay with a little friendly banter at a hunting camp. I'm fine with that. If I know you and you come in and you're like, "Yeah, man, I shot the doe, she died, or shot the buck." And I look at your shot placement, I'm like, "I know you can shoot better than that. This is where you shot. What happened?" Like I'm okay with friendly banter. But if we're going to sit here and genuinely like 10 toes down on a hill that doesn't matter, if they're doing it legally and they're doing it ethical and they're doing it morally and they're doing it with respect to the animal, shut up. It is fine. Oh my God. Oh, dude, please don't be in my comment section. I'm telling you right now, I don't have patience for you. I don't have patience for you. Don't be in my comment section. I'm going to find a way to get you out. I'm an IT in the Navy. I'm not in the mix. But, and I want to backtrack to one of the things that you said. And I really want to get your take on this. What does ethical hunting mean to you?
So uh, again, I kind of hit on it a little bit before, like a guy that, or a person, not even a guy that recognizes that they're not going to put in the time that it takes to do to do as well as you need to do with a compound bow, and they know that. So they're like, you know what? No, I want to archery hunt, so I'll shoot a crossbow because I know I can complete the task that I'm out here to do at a much higher rate. Um, Being ethical, first off, is abiding by the rules, right? Don't go on other somebody, don't sneak on somebody else's land. Don't be where you shouldn't be. Don't use a means that you shouldn't use when you shouldn't be using it. If it's archery season, it's archery season. It's not shoot them with a gun. Like, do things legally for first and foremost, and then being able to do what it is you're accomplishing. Don't be outside of your comfort zone, and whatever your comfort zone is what you need to know. Like, some people are shoot enough and they can do it 50, 60, 70 yards consistently all day every day on a whitetail. If that's you, that's great. If it's not you, that's okay too. Then just get them closer. Do anything that you don't feel 100% confident behind doing. in a means of taking that animal. Don't take a questionable shot. Don't, oh, I know my range is 40, but that it's a big one and it's at 50. If you're not comfortable with it, don't do it. You owe it to the animal to be as quick and humane as you can in the means and the way that you're going to take it. And whatever that means is whatever you choose, but you got to be able to do it and do it well at a high consistency level. And if you can't, then I don't think you should be out there trying to do it with that means of take. That to me is the paramount of ethical.
Yeah, and I love what you said a second ago, and I think that's a, you know, a great way of putting it, right? You owe it to that animal. I think so many people think that these animals are just like, and I think the general public think that we think this, right? I see it a lot. I see it a lot in comment sections. I've seen it. I've seen it. In a lot of people's, you know, comment sections recently, you know, people that are, you know, may not have any idea of the outdoor or hunting in any way, form, or fashion, and they're like, well, these are just dumb animals. I was like, if please, I implore you, I will pay for your plane ticket, come with me, I will show you how smart these animals actually are. um
They are the
and I think
most
that's a
adaptive predator animal, the prey animal that is out there. They live in areas and places that they have no business living, yet they still live there and thrive. They've adapted to human pressure and just the existence of us better than any other animal out there. And to think that they don't have wits about them to be able to survive. I mean, they are the epitome of a survivalist. Like it doesn't matter what we do to them, where we push them, where we build our concrete jungles, they still find a way to sustain and live no matter what we've done thus far.
yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a, you know, a big thing, man. If you owe it to these animals, man, and like, you know, how do you teach people on your TikTok that I see your lives all the time? How do you teach people or talk about it or begin to pass that down to with taking animals with respect?
It starts with just that. It's saying it just that way. Like you have to have respect for the game that you're chasing, and if you have that, then you care enough to make sure that you are absolutely confident in yourself and your abilities to go out there and do what it is you're trying to do. Like
Yeah.
that's paramount first and foremost. And are you going to make mistakes? Absolutely. And the one thing that I implore people to do, the way that you get good at anything is to do it and do more of it. Well, what are you trying to do? You're trying to go kill deer. So when you're first starting out and you see these, I see these guys, girls, whatever, that will pass on deer that as a first deer, like why are you not doing? Why are you not taking that? And they wait for the opportunity on this, what they're waiting for. And they have properties that allow them to do this, but then when the opportunity presents itself, they're a wreck. Like they make a mistake that is a careless mistake because they haven't went through the motions enough doing it on other animals to be able to do it on an animal of that caliber. When I first started, dude, I killed every legal deer I could kill for as many years as I could do it for as long. Like, I mean, I got really, really good at killing deer, like when to draw, when to move, when. And prior to getting to that point, I was really bad at it. But that's okay. Like that's how you learn. When do you move? When do you adjust? When do you draw back? Shot placement. What are you waiting for? You can't be overly picky on it. You shoot at a target that's broadside all the time. I can't. How many times do you always get that broadside shot, or you have a wide open lane to shoot through? Sometimes you got to be able, if and this is again confidence in your ability. Sometimes you have a hole this big that he stops in, and if you know you can do that and you can put it through that hole and thread the needle, then do it. But if you can't and you don't, then you shouldn't. And if the more you apply yourself and practice, obviously the better you get. But if you're not going to apply yourself and you're going to be lazy about it and you know that, then you owe it to the animal again not to be out there trying to do it that way. Like you shouldn't go out and do something that you don't think you can accomplish at a 90% success rate, at least hitting where you're aiming, right? Or close enough to where you're aiming.
Yeah, I 100%. And I think that's a big thing for these new hunters, man. If you want to get into bow hunting, I first implore you. I think bow hunting is the most amazing form of hunting that there is. I think it is the most like getting that close with wild animals is such an amazing feeling. And it is such a cool experience, man. And then to do it successfully, where you can go put hands on this animal and know, like you were saying earlier, so this is the first time a human's ever touched this animal, and it was you, right? Like that's a really cool feeling. But I'm telling you right now, And I tell every sailor that I take, every veteran that I take, one of the biggest questions I ask is, how much practice have you done? And when I ask that, I don't mean like today, last week. I mean in total, like from beginning of season to now, to when like I'm taking you tomorrow, for instance. How much experience do you have? How much practice have you put in? And one of the big things that I ask, is, and a lot of my sailors, one of the ones that I've been taking out is, I told them, I was like, I want you to put arrows on target all summer long. Any chance you get, go put something in the field. And then I got him, I got him really good because it was a lesson I had to learn. I shot on flat ground. And then I shot elevated at a deer and I missed. I didn't miss like close. I missed bad because I've never shot from an elevated platform. So then I put him, he was like, I was like, you think you're good? He's like, yeah. I was like, you're hitting pretty consistent grouping. He's like, yeah. I was like, cool, let me see it. So then I put it at 34 yards, pretty tough yardage, put it 34 yards, gave me, good pie pan. I was like, cool. I was like, yeah, you've obviously been practicing a little bit. I was like, do it within a red solo cup. I want to be able to slide a red solo cup over your grouping. And he was like, okay. And then he did it. And I was like, cool. And then I was like, go get your climbing stand. And he was like, what? And I was like, go get your climbing stand. And he was like, why? And I was like, we're going to do the same shit, but you're going to do it elevated. And he was like, okay. And so then he was shooting, like he was shooting the top right corner of the bag, the bottom left corner of the bag, and like somewhere in the middle. And I was like, yeah, you're not ready. And I was like, not yet. I was like, give me a couple more weeks. And then finally, like the last week, he's like, throw anything at me. And I was like, that's the confidence I needed right there. I was like, no hesitation. You're like, I'm ready to go. I was like, and I put one at like 44 yards and I put the bag quartering away. And I was like, hit the bag. I was like, hit the, and I like drew a circle on it. I was like, hit it right here, man, put it right in the middle. And I was like, all right, let's go. I was like,
Nice.
that's the level of ethical practice that I want and these animals deserve.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I usually make a point of is don't practice on the ground, square to the shoulders, like everything's perfect. Like while that is fine to do that and to get reps in, you also got to replicate what you're doing. Put on your hunting clothes. Make sure you can shoot with what you're wearing. Make sure you can draw your bow back with what you're wearing. And go out in the morning when you're cold and stiff, and go take a couple shots first thing. Replicate that too. And I've never done this, and I've never suggested it, but I've seen other people do it where they go for a jog and come back and their heart rate's elevated and they
Yeah.
try to shoot. Like I've never done that, but I can tell you my heart rate is elevated every time I'm shooting at a mature deer. Like
Yeah.
I swear I could feel like they could hear it in my ears. It's so loud that I'm like, they got to be able to hear this.
No, no, I actually, it's so funny that you brought that up. Because I had the dude do 20 burpees and I was
and
like,
and
all right, now
shoot.
do it again. And he was like, he got it. And he was just, and I was like, whoo. I was like, whoo, boy. I was like, all right. I was like, we're gonna practice that one for a little. Dude, I threw everything at it. Like, and I was like, and he was like, I feel like this is excessive. I was like, no. I was like, do not tell me that it's excessive. I was like, what's excessive? I was like, is people who think that they can go out first day, buying a bow, setting it up in the bow shop, shooting at 20 yards, and then go out the next day and go hunting. I was like, that's stupid. I was like, and it's disrespectful. I was like, and let me tell you right now, I was like, you will never, and anyone who's listening right now, if you have ever shot a deer and you are not confident on where that shot placement is, there's no gut wrenching feeling. There's no sickness in your stomach that feels worse than that moment right there. And if it doesn't feel bad, please sell your bow, sell all of your stuff. Don't ever go hunting again because it should hurt. Like you should be sick as a dog. Like I'll go back to the truck and I'll go review a film and I'm like slow playing and I'm like, okay, it's a good shot. I'm like, all right, I got blood under pressure. We're good. I was like, all right, I feel a lot better. But let me tell you, that hour that it takes me to find that film, or even if you don't record, looking at the blood trail, man, oh my God, it is heart wrenching when you're sitting there. And so please, these animals deserve that. Do the practice. You will be surprised of A, how much better you are, and B, how much more of a morally ethical hunter you become. And when you become a morally ethical hunter like Mike, like me, and anyone that I've done the podcast with, you will be surprised how much more you appreciate the game. when you play it the right way. So I
Yeah.
definitely think that's a big thing. And so one of the things that I do want to ask you, because you were talking about it, and I think it's a great thing, is what worries you the most about the future of hunting, the way that it's going right now.
I mean, honestly, my biggest fear is, the places that we're going to have and be afforded the opportunities to do it are just going to keep getting less and less. At least, especially where I am here, we're on the Eastern Shore. You only got so much more you can build on, man. And so many farms that I had over the years. I've been doing this a long time, and I've had a lot of farms come and go. I had some amazing properties for many years. That was first generation. Literally the second it went down to second generation, it was locked out, put it for sale, sold. Within a year's time frame, it's gone. It's developed, and now everywhere many, many, many places that I hunted are developments. That's what they all are now. And you know that's always my biggest concern, is not having a place to be able to go do this close enough to be able to make it something that you can do frequently. You're going to have to drive too far to get to the state game lands that you have to get to be able to go hunt, because everybody doesn't live near them. Right now, most people can find somewhere, whether it's private property or state property, they can find somewhere relatively close to home to hunt and be successful, because deer are everywhere. They're all over the place, but a matter of whether or not you can get in where you need to be to do that. And the more people have to travel to go make that happen, the less of a draw that's going to become for people to want to continue to do this as we go. And obviously, the more successful you are at doing something earlier, doing it, the more fun you have doing it, the more successful you are as you do it, the more fun you have doing it, the more you're going to do it. Uh, and if you don't have a place that's somewhere close enough that you can spend the time that you need to do to allow yourself to be more successful, I just see that as a huge way of a lot of less people wanting to get into something that, one, is going to cost them way more money and way more of their time to travel further away to get to where they got to get to be able to do it.
Yeah. I mean, like I talking about it on a podcast not long ago. I was like, the land that I know now is not the same land my dad knew or his dad knew, right? Like it's so different now. And I think that's a huge thing that and I explained it like this, with at least states specifically, we're not taking care of the land we have, right? A lot of hunters are leaving trash all over the place, dumping
Oh my God.
carcasses and, doing all this stupid stuff. And the state's going to look at it like I would look at it, a toy with my kid, right? If you're not taking care of it, I'm going to take it away. I'm sorry. You're not taking care of the thing that I gave you. You don't appreciate it. You don't respect it. Cool. It's mine now. And they're going to take, and they're going to continue to take and take and take. And I think that's a huge thing for the people in the general public that are listening, and I want to ask you, like, what roles as hunters do we play in conservation and ability to keep the land that we are still knowing as today?
Yeah, I mean, we are the biggest stewards of the land. Conservation comes from, license sales. License sales come from, obviously hunters, right? And the more we grow that, the more awareness we make of that, the more money we can put into that kitty that helps sustain and make this be what it is. Um, One of the biggest things that I want to do, I want to leave behind a legacy that secures this for generations to come. Ultimately, my end game goal is to have a nonprofit set up that we purchase land all over as many places as I can. And then once we get it where it's right, we lock it into conservation so it'll always be there. And it'll be a place that will have mentors and people that are willing to show others how to do it, that want to do it in a way that is, as it should be. It's going to teach them to have respect for the game. It's going to be, teach them how to make sure that they are able to make ethical shots and understand what that is and what their limits are and their boundaries. That's my end game goal. And to be able to have that secured and locked in for my kids to be able to go do. I want my grandkids and great grandkids to be able to do the things that we love doing. And, right now, unless we do something about it, generations to come down the way, it's going to be a lot harder for them to find places to go do these types of things.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Midwest. I mean, I think like what in the last like 10 years they've lost almost like 10,000 acres. And I might be grossly off, but I know it's a lot, and it's continuing every year. Um, and Steve Ranella is a big advocate out there. And anyone who hasn't watched Meat Eater, It's been on for years, years and years and years. Has podcasts and everything, and he talked about it. Where it's like, he I like the way he said it. He was like, it sucks to fight for some idiots, but I'm fighting for the people who are coming in. I'm fighting for the people who are going to come, and the people who are going to appreciate it, and the people who are going to take it serious. And he was like, yeah, he was like, it sucks to sit here and know that there are idiots who don't care, and they're just going to keep doing the things that they're doing, and it's going to continue to keep hurting the land that we have. He was like, but I'm not fighting for them. He was like, I'm fighting for, he was like, these kids that are coming up now and who are looking at it and going, oh, that's neat. I want to try that. He was like, those are the guys that I'm fighting for. He was like, that's the people that I'm willing to stick my neck out for. He was like 100% of the time and fight for. And I cannot agree more. And I think that's such a huge thing. And but with that, right? And it's a big thing. Do you think that social media is helping or hurting that cause?
I think it could be helping a whole lot more than it is currently if we could get away from that hunters bashing hunters thing. Right now, I think it's a pretty neutral. There's enough of both of it that if somebody takes something out of context and wants to post it, as an anti saying, well, this is what hunters do, yada, 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 there's always enough of the other side of that showing the other side of what hunters do right now. But there could be a whole lot more bridging that gap, like you're saying, between the just the common public that doesn't hunt or really have a full understanding of what it is and what it's all about. We could do more to bridge that gap, and it could be much better than what it is. But I don't think it's one way or the other. It's not worse for it or better for it. I think it just kind of it's there and it exists. It's not hurting or helping us, but it could be helping us so much more than what it is.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I think if it's used the right way, it would be exponentially different with what it could do and how many people it can touch. I mean, look at one video, right? Like one video, the algorithm is going to put it in front of 10 people's phones that and it's literally how the algorithm works. It's just wanting to see if that's anything that you may like. So even if they're not a hunter, right? Your video may pop up on their video on their screen, and that may be the first time they ever see a hunter. And if the first thing you're posting is something unethical, it's something unmoral, and it's something that you do that shows disrespect to the land or anything about it, that boom, there, right there, you've just immediately locked someone's decision in on how they see us, right? And they're not going to go looking to see if we're all like that, because you have to do digging to see the good ones, and it sucks. I saw a video the other day of a boy dove hunting, and he shot a dove. Dove did not die, and instead of just wringing its neck, calling it a day, making it an ethical, quick, humane kill, he punted the dove like 20 yards. And I was like, "Are you are you kidding me? You actually posted this?" And dude, I immediately sent him a message, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "Funny, wasn't it?" And I'm like, "No, no." You think that was funny? I was like, "Do you think that was funny in any way, form, or fashion?" I was like, "Oh my god." First off, it wasn't safe. I was like, "That was stupid." I was like, "If I see a dove flying during dove season, I'm shooting it as long as it's within a, safe boundary. And what if somebody hadn't seen you?" I was like, "And you took pepper, you got pepper shells to the face, like just." And then just the other thing, man, like it's just such disrespect. And that's a big thing that I think social media it is right now. There's a lot of great, authentic, good quality content coming out, but unfortunately, I still see people being like posting bad stuff, and like
That's always going to be though, unfortunately, man.
it's inevitable. Like you're gonna have people with a cell phone, right? That's gonna record something and think that's funny. It's gonna post it, right? Um, but and that's another thing. Do you think that we should, as hunters, as if you're a good ethical hunter, do you think we should be self-governing more and policing each other like more, or do you think we should have one of those things where it's like, hey, there should be a organization that's policing this, or TikTok should notice this and take that video down?
I think if we start policing each other, it's going to create problems in a way because everybody's going to have their own opinion and from their paradigm and how they see things through their eyes is based upon how they growing up and what they've witnessed and seen. So what they say is right, we may say is wrong, but in their eyes, I mean, adamantly they believe it's right. So I think us policing each other, if we can do it in a tactful way that you can give constructive criticism and explain why the general public might see what they're doing as something negative, but don't do it on the forum where it's everybody to see. Do it behind the scenes in a message, a one-on-one type deal. But so many people are not willing to take any type of criticism. So that's a really fine line to walk for sure. But I think policing ourselves would just create holy hell.
Yes. I think it's a double-edged sword. I think there's a right and a wrong way to do it, right? If we're doing it in public and in the public's eyes, right? Like if you see somebody on live and they're hunting and you want to jump on there and let's I've seen a lot of guys on live with crossbows, right? And I'll jump in there live and I'll just be like, "Hey man, shoot straight. Good luck." Right? Just quick 2 seconds. And then I'll look in there and I'll look through the comments and somebody's like, "How dare you hunt with a bow or a crossbow? You piece of shit." And I'm like, "Oh my God, dude, why are you like, stop, dude. Like, if you have nothing, like, let's go back to the golden rule, right? If you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all, right?"
That's why I always pump out. Like, you ever watch the movie Bambi? They're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. You know what Thumper's mom says? What's to make him repeat? And he sits there. If you have nothing nice to say, then don't say
Yeah.
nothing at all. Yeah, go back to that, man. Go back to that because we'd all
Yeah.
be better for it.
We would, man. I don't want to hear your negativity, man. Like it's such a big thing. But and that goes in, and we've talked about cell cams, and we've talked about technology and the social media. Do you think that the modern technology is helping or hurting the hunting community?
No, I think it helps, man. I think at least until it starts to become a problem with AI, I think technology has been a good thing for hunting. It's been applied in a lot of ways that have helped. It gives you another dimension um, of what you can see and what you can how you can learn it, and I think that's awesome. Um, the biggest thing, being the trail cams are like I said, I love trail cams. I geek out on them big time. I do not predict my hunts off them. I don't base when and where I'm going if I don't see deer or don't do that. But just as a sheer just overload of information, I absolutely love them. And with the social media thing, I think a lot of people can learn a lot of different ways. Like I just started a school account that I'm doing that for beginner hunters, trying to build something out that if somebody getting started, try to bridge that gap. Like in a couple of my social media platforms, my tagline is, I want to help a million people get their first or their personal best,
Yeah.
and any means way of doing that, whether it's fishing, hunting, doesn't matter. Either one of them, I'm all for it. I love both of them, and I think if technology can help expedite that to where people can be better at what they're doing sooner to have success, the more success you have, the more you're going to do it. So if we can figure out how to bridge that gap, and social media and technology as a whole is a way that to be able to help us do that. So I'm all for it. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, I think social media or just technology as a whole has taken the average new hunter and basically just sped them up five years, I would say. 5 to 10 years, depending on how well they do it and how well they learn.
Who they pick,
That's
who they're
yeah,
learning
that's what I was
from.
about to say. Yeah,
That's the
and that's
biggest thing.
the other big one, right, is who you're willing or like who you're learning from really, really, teaches you a whole lot. And I think another big thing is, um, I got into this with first season of the podcast with somebody, um, and we were talking about drone recovery and drones. I think drone recovery is amazing. I think it's so cool. I got the opportunity to use it last year. Um, and I would have never have found that deer. I would have never have found that deer had it not been for that drone. And it was quick, it was efficient, and I was able to get that deer within like an hour of looking. And it was fantastic. But I think if you're using drones for like scouting and AI, or like for scouting and looking and doing all that, I feel like that gets into a gray area that I'm not really sure how it feels. But I will tell you, and I don't know how much you know about it, but the AI scouting, have you seen these?
I have not.
Oh, they're scary. Like it's scary accurate too. Like it's good. Like it's real good. You can, and I tested it, right? I took a buddy of mine, I had him download Onyx, and I had him screenshot the public land, and I had him send me that screenshot because I wasn't gonna delete all my waypoints. Like I said, I have so many, it's ridiculous. And I had him send me the AI, like the screenshot of it. I took it and I plugged it into like Chat GPT, and I said, I'm bow hunting tomorrow morning, and I screenshotted the weather, and I sent, and I put post of those pictures in there, and I said, find me the best places to sit for tomorrow morning based on the weather and this map. Not only did it pick the best place, it found 4 other places that I could look from. It had the time and place. It had the area that they were going to be walking down. It found an old logging trail that I didn't even know was there. And then I actually went and put boots on the ground and found that it actually is there. And then it was able to point out acorn trees. It found pinch points. It found shelves. It found ridge lines, and it told me exactly where to sit, when to sit, and why to sit there. And then it told me it picked out like 4 spots and was like, "Hey, Monday I would sit here between 8 and 10, and then I would, Tuesday or Monday afternoon I would sit in stand 2 for the afternoon." And it like broke down and it built me a chart of what to go off of. It was so insanely accurate that like I was sitting there, I was like, my buddy was looking at me and he was like, "Hey, so I know you've been teaching me a lot, but I think I got it from here." And I was like, "If you use that, I swear," I was like, I'm gonna be so pissed off. Um, I think that's a skill set, man, that like, especially you new hunters, man. I think scouting is such a skill set that eventually is going to be lost if we don't continue to use it.
In its
Um,
conventional sense, yes.
yeah. Um, and I'm not saying, and I think here's where I think the AI would be great, right? Realistically, an elk hunt, right? If I pay $6,000 to get out there and do an elk hunt, realistically, the statistic is what, like 8 to 12% success rate for an elk hunt. It's not high. It's not high at all. But if I screenshot public land and I go find me the elk, and it can upgrade my percentage from 8 to 12 to 20 to 30, I might take those odds. It might be something to look at.
Absolutely.
I don't know. You need to look into it, man. I'm telling you, it's
I'm gonna
terrifying.
check it out for sure because there's parts of an app that I wanted to do something with, like for trail cam data. Take the data because I geek out on trail cams. Like I document. I take a notebook with me. I've taken a notebook in the woods with me for 23 years now. I handwrite and take notes of all kinds of information. And trail cam pictures give you that type of data as well. So if you know which direction they're coming from, and if you could input it into the upload your pictures, and AI can identify the deer, so it can grab all the pictures of this deer and which direction it's moving, time of the day, when it was there, what time of the year, all of that stuff, and then predict a patternable movement for that deer. Like that's what I do with my trail cam pictures. I have Excel spreadsheets, and I create spreadsheets, and I filter it by dates, times, all kinds of different ways to where I know when the deer is going to be where it is, and I can look at all the historical data for that deer for that to know when it was, where it was, at least based on the pictures that I was able to get of that deer. So to be able to put something like that and put that together, I think that would be sick. Like it would do all the stuff that I'm doing a whole lot faster than it takes me to do it.
So yeah, I'm actually going to try it out here in a minute. In the next, well, not here in a minute, but like here in the next few days, I'm going to take a couple of the trail cam photos that I have, and I have it marked on Onyx, and I'm going to screenshot my picture from Onyx, and I'm going to post the picture that I have from the trail camera, and I'm going to say, here's the trail camera, here's the video I got, showing me the direction where the buck was coming and where it was going and where I should sit based off this data. And I want to see what like how smart this damn thing really is. And like if it spits out and it's like, oh well, based on this, based on the ridge line and the topography of the map, I would probably be sitting up here early in that, or late in the afternoon, and I'd probably try over here in the morning based on the buck bedding area that I found. Like if it does that, I'm telling you right now, if you're not a new hunter and you're not super successful, and let's say you're like, hey man, I just want to get into it. I don't have time. Like you're a weekend warrior, which by the way, hey, shout out to my weekend warriors, man. Truly, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. I really do. I don't envy you guys. I don't at all. I don't envy the fact that you only get very short times to hunt, and you have to be successful with the time that you have. For those guys, that would probably be extremely beneficial. I think that would be like mind-blowingly beneficial. But I don't know, it worries me. I think there's
But
skills
you still
that
got to be able to take that and apply it, though. You
yeah,
know, just because it's telling you to be there again, I would love to understand. Like, I'm now, you got me curious, so I'm going to go like, how do I access this property? What's my best trail in? What's my best trail out? Like those kind of things. Because while I can maybe be able to tell you this is where they think deer is going to be, like I said, that's not that's the out of the whole grand scheme of things, that's the easiest part, in my opinion, is understanding
yeah.
where they want to be. But it's how do you get there and where do you set up and why and when do you set up there to make it be successful? That's the part that is, it just takes time in the woods, and in many cases it just takes failing at it to figure out, okay, what do I need to do different to be able to be successful at that. So I that element, it's, I don't know that it would ever be able to supplement that ever.
Maybe not. But I think you'll be surprised when you jump into it and you I was shocked at what I found, and I barely scratched the sur I like turned it off. I was like, "All right, well, that's too much." Like, and it was pointing out things, like I said, on my waypoints that I was like scrolling in and like zooming in. I'm like, "Damn it." I'm like, it pointed out 4 of my transition spots. I was like, "What the hell is this thing?" And it like where I'm like I said, I'm a Navy IT, and so we're all geeking out about the new technology, right? And my buddy was the one that brought it up to me. He was like, "Hey, Mister Outdoors man, how do you think about this?" And I was like, "Damn it!" I was like,
Yeah.
because I was telling him, I was like, traditional is just the best way. And then he definitely he got first round on me. So I was like, "Geez," I was like, it's impressive, but I think those are things that we're going to continue to see and grow in the modern technology. I think if it's used the right way, and I think if you still go out there, man, boots on the ground is still going to be top tier. Going out there and seeing the land and knowing what it looks like, I still think is going to be your best chances to be successful. And I
Yeah.
will stand 10 toes down on that hill for the rest of my life.
100%. Because the other factor that it's never going to take into place, and it's not going to be able to take into place, is pressure. Human activity in those areas, and on that property. It's not. It can't predict that. It's not going to know where it's coming from, how it's getting there, how many people are there. You only get that by just being there and witnessing and seeing it.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, that's where I think you're really going to be successful is when you're sitting in there and you're like, you know what? Okay, I see a bunch of people over here. Let me go over here instead and look and um, you know, I really, really, really do think that the modern technology has made I guess in a sense, and I don't like using this word, but like I do see a lot now. I see a lot of people on social media. I see them becoming lazy hunters. I see them being lazy
Absolutely.
with like just the mentality of it where it's like, "Hey, I don't care if I have a personal relationship with a deer. I just want to kill a deer." Okay, cool. Awesome. How do you intend to do that? By getting lucky or by putting in the work to go in there and put boots on the ground and see for your own good.
And that's the other thing. There's always going to be so many different tiers of intensity into the industry. Like, there's going to be people that are just fine with going out and doing it that way. They're going to, maybe they might use AI through and through and say, okay, this is where I should hunt, this is where I should do it, this is when I should be there, and they go out there and they do it and they are successful. But again, success is in the eye of the beholder. Success to them might be putting a doe on the ground, and they're happy with that, or a year and a half, a 2.5 year old deer, and happy with that, and that's great. And I'm all for that. If that's what helps them be successful at doing that at that level, that's great. But for the guys that are like, and I don't know where your age class is. Like, for me, my goal, I want 4.5 year old deer or older. Like, that's where I'm at now. I've taken a lot of deer, and I have, that's what excites me the most is chasing older deer. So for the people that want to be in that category and do that year in and year out, there's not a whole lot of technology that's going to help you do that better.
No, no, yeah, I'm at the point now. I'm a little bit older. I've been hunting for a little while now. Now I'll tell you, I'll be the first to admit it. If I'm getting to late season and I don't have a deer in the freezer, there's not much
Legal
that's
deer,
safe.
brown us down.
Yeah, there's not much that's safe, man. If you give me a free shot, I'm taking it all day.
Nah, that's
But
there ain't nothing wrong with it. I'm all for it, bro.
yeah, but and at the same time, and I tell people all the time, a lot of people because they're like, well, you've been hunting for so long, you do podcasts and stuff like this. They're like, why don't you hunt the big mature deer? Well, I also have to go under the water, and I have to be away from family for 6 or 7 months out of the year. And if it just lines up perfect for me, where I don't have to do that, and I have a free season where I'm like, hey, I can be a little bit more picky and do a little bit more scouting and a little bit more fun. Yeah, guarantee I'm not putting anything down that's not 4.5 older. But like last season I was in and out. I had like 2 weeks here, 10 days here, a month here. Like I was jumping in and out between seasons, and between missing my family, missing my wife, and then getting the free opportunities to actually go out there. No, no, no. Brown is down. I'm like, I don't care. I don't have long. I've got like my wife agreed to like an afternoon hunt. And she was like, yeah, go have fun. And I'm like, cool. And then I get out there and a good doe walks in front of me. Yeah. No, she's coming home with me. Me and her, we were gonna take a little ride together. First road trip.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think it's like what you said, and I really do think that that's a big thing that a lot of people that really changes per person, right? How do you define a successful hunter?
And those that are doing what they want to do and not letting anybody else's judgmental inputs impact on what they do and how they do it. That's a successful
Yeah,
hunter. Like you're out there having fun doing what you want to do the way you want to do it. As long as it's legal, that and you're having fun doing it, that's it. Like and for every person, it's this. I say the same thing. If in the moment it gets you excited, because since I've targeted 4.5-year-old deers, there's been 3.5-year-olds, there's been 2.5-year-olds that I've shot because the experience, the hunt, the whole thing, dude, I was jacked. My heart was pounding. Like when that happens, that's the right deer, in my opinion. Like that's what it's all about. Like if it got me excited and got me jacked up, then that was it. That was the one. And if you take that approach, I don't think you can ever go wrong. And if that ever goes away, then that's when I'll stop.
yeah, I no 100%. I've said that from the get go. I literally told my wife a couple days ago. I had planned the whole day for me and a hunter or me and a sailor to go out, and um I waited and waited and waited, and he ended up not showing up and texted me like last minute, like 12 o'clock. Was like, "Hey, I'm not gonna make it," and I was like, and I told her I was like, she was like, "Hey," she was like, "Can you promise me something?" I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "The day that you don't get frustrated, and the day that you don't get mad about missing a hunt," she was like, "Please stop hunting for me." And I was like, I don't all right. I was like, I like the way that you said that. I was like, I never thought about that. She was like, because she was like, that shows me that it really matters to you. She was like that you really truly care about it, and you still do. And I've said for years, the day that I can heartlessly look at an animal that I plan on harvesting, shoot it, not care a world, and not be excited, even a little bit. Today I'm going to sell everything that I own. And I'm going to, the day that that happens, man, be on my front porch step because you're going to get a hell of a deal. You're getting everything. I'm not gonna look back at it. And I'm gonna take a hiatus for a while, until I can regain that love for it, man. And you know, but how do you think we continue to bring that tradition and bring those values to the new the new hunters that are coming in the next generation? How do you think we continue that?
The best way to do it, man, is just positivity towards others and what they're doing. Don't be judgmental. Just be happy for other people. If they're happy, be happy for them. It doesn't matter if if your definition of happy and success is different than theirs. If they are saying they're successful and happy in what they did, be happy for them. That's it. Just keep supporting others that are content and happy in the way that they're doing what they're doing, even if it differs from what you would do.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. I think if you're gonna sit here and bully or pick or poo poo on the next guy to you who may be having success, or his success is different than you, because like we just talked about a second ago, success is different to everybody. My level of success is different than your level of success. Look at your wall. Look at mine. Like, who cares? I don't give a damn. I have one deer, and I've told everybody from the get go, I will only ever mount one deer, and it's because it has a very emotional background to that deer. That is the only reason. Everything else has been European mounted, or I've given the actual bones to like local Native American tribes and allow them to have the bones, and do whatever what they want with it, make jewelry, and I enjoy letting the entire animal be used, and I think it's fun. And I usually always get something out of it, so it's kind of fun for me. But I actually got my first stick and poke tattoo from a Native American woman. Couple months back, I ended up giving her a couple antlers, and she was like, "Come back and we'll do a stick and poke tattoo." And she'd used a little hot claw and was poking me, and I was like, "This is cool." I was like, "All right." And she's like, if you ever have any deer bones, she's like, just come by. She's like, I'm sure we can find something to trade. And I'm like, sounds good,
Yeah, say less.
But yeah, it's super super cool. But dude, yeah, I gotta get down to Delaware, man. I've heard there's some pretty good land down there, and it's I heard y'all have some y'all season is
Very
y'all's
long.
goes to February.
Starts in September and goes to the first week of February. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say it's still February. Yeah, because I know some places are still they still go to, like, I think here, I think it ends in no, it just went to February. It just recently went to February. It was January, like the last week of January for a while. But
And we got very, very liberal limits. Like both states are unlimited doe. As long as you buy the tag, kill as many does as you want. Maryland, I can shoot $3. Delaware, I can shoot two. So I can get $5 every year.
wow.
Yeah. If I
Wow.
have Pennsylvania,
Now, do
that's
you guys have like the hunter safety course and like the bow safety course that you guys have to take every year?
no
Or?
bow, just the general hunter safety course.
So now, I do kind of want to see what you think is with this is the hunters who can't make the hunter safety course, right? Because they've got life, right? We talked about it earlier. Life is crazy as it is. Do you think that they should be able to take it online and it count, or do you think that they have to show up to the course and you think it's deserving that to show up to the course?
No, I 100% think you should have to be in person for the one section of it. The gun safety and going through that portion of it, I think should be an in person part of the course. One, it shows that you have a dedication to what it is you're doing and you're serious about doing it, so you're going to make time to do it. And it's going to also show that somebody else didn't do the online portion for you just to get your license or to get you your license, and you really didn't pay attention or absorb any of it. Um,
Yeah.
you can see a lot and know a lot when you put a gun in somebody's hand and watch how they yield it and watch what they do. You can pick up a lot real quick to know whether or not they paid attention or understood and read through the hunter safety course and did what they did. I mean, it's you can pick it up super super quick.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, being military, growing up in the South, gun safety was beat into me very very early, and then we get it as military get beat into it 3 times a week, right? And a lot of people don't agree with me. I got a lot of lashback when I said this last time, but I will say it again. A gun is a scrap piece of metal when it's just by itself. You put it in the right person's hands, it becomes a tool. You put it in the wrong person's hands who doesn't know what they're doing or has the wrong intentions, that's when it becomes a weapon. That is when it becomes a firearm of destruction, and I think that is when it becomes destructive. Any other time than that, if you find a hunter who is grown up doing it or knows the gun safety and has gone to the gun safety courses, which I think everyone should be going to the gun safety courses, they're fun. I genuinely enjoy them. I think they're fun. One, because I think some of the instructors sometimes don't know what they're doing, and it's kind of comical sometimes when they fumble around. And they, I saw the last one that I went to. He didn't eject the mag, and he racked another round, and he was like, "All right," and then he pulled it out, and I was like, "Hey, you got one in that chamber still?" And he was like, "No, I don't." And I'm like, "You 100% do, 100% do." And he was like, "No, I don't." And I was like, "I promise you, if you rack that round right now, there's gonna be a bullet that pops out." And he racked around, a bullet popped out. I was like, "Whoa, crazy how that works." I was like, it's almost like when every time you cock it back, if there's a bullet there, it's gonna go in. Um, so I think those are funny sometimes, but instructors, please take it serious. This is life or death. I was a paramedic before I joined the Navy. I've ran the gunshot wounds. I've ran, and safety is paramount, guys. New hunters, please, 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 please know everything there is to know about safety. If you are climbing a stand, your ass better be tethered to that tree. If you are in a tree stand, you are wearing a safety harness. If you are out on public land, you're wearing orange. If you are using a firearm, you are comfortable with that weapon. You know the land and you know what's behind the target that you're shooting. Do not shoot ridge lines. Do not shoot it straight up in the air. Like little things like that, man. You have no idea how much that really matters, and the safety that, Mike was just sitting here talking about. Like, go to the courses. It teaches you all of these things. You don't have to like Google any of it. They teach you everything. It's wonderful. Um, Thankfully, I was a lot of the hunter safety courses. Me being active duty military, most of mine are exempt. They're like, hey, we trust you. If the United States Navy trusts you with a weapon, we should probably, assume that you know what you're doing. Please don't assume, because I've met some real idiots out here
Oh,
that I would not trust with. Like, if I see them on, standing armed guard, I'm like, well, today's the day to rush the boat. If you're trying to get on, today's the day you're gonna get on. But man, I again, Mike, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on. And man, I'm seeing the TikTok lives, and I'm seeing you go out there, and you're preaching good stuff, man. And you're just, the overall community that you have built, brick by brick, layer by layer, is, you have authentic content, you have morally correct content, you're trying to build these ethical hunters to go out there, to represent the community that we deeply care about. And man, I can't, from one hunter to another one, I tell you, I thank you. You're doing, doing something that not a lot of people get to say they have the opportunity to do, which is to teach the new generation at least something new. And you are expediting their career, you know, by at least 5 to 10 years. And like I said, and I said it again, the beginning, and I'm going to say it again, you've forgotten more about hunting than I'll ever know. And any day that you're willing to toss out a breadcrumb, buddy, I'm ready to sit here and take it, and I will I'll listen to you, all day long, man. But again, I appreciate you coming on, dude. I really do.
no, man, my pleasure. I appreciate the invite. I hope to do it again. We can delve into some other things, some more details on how tos and what we do different out here on the Eastern Shore that works, that might apply and work elsewhere for other people as well. Man, I'd be up to talk deer hunting pretty much anytime, all the time. So I really appreciate you thinking of me and doing the invite and the kind words you said there, man. It means a lot. I appreciate that aspect, and that's what you're getting out of what I'm putting out there. That is the way you described it is exactly my goal. So it feels good to hear somebody describe what you're doing to be what it is that you're trying to make it be. You just be authentic, be you, be real. Don't be anything that you're not, and people are going to either take you for what it is or they're going to not. And that's how I approach life in general, man. Like if you're there, you're there. If you're not, you're not. Like, this is who I am. This is what you're going to get. You take it or leave it. So I appreciate the things you said, man. And again, thank you for having me on. I look forward to doing it again.
Yeah, man, I would love to dive into, have a like a model Onyx app here, or screen, and us, and just let you just dive into it and be like, all right, this is what I'm looking at. I think that'd be super super cool to get to witness, and then not only that, but be able to show all these guys that are coming into it. It's such beneficial information that would expedite them even more. But yeah, man, I'm definitely gonna keep up with you, and keep a close tab. And I actually I have some free time, in the next month or so. I'll be on holiday stand down, and I'm looking at planning a hunt in a different state, and I just haven't figured it out. Ohio's been tossed around. North Carolina's been tossed around, and then we've actually looked at, I'm looking at trying to stay close to the Eastern Seaboard, just because I do have the little one, so I don't want to be too far. So I may be throwing Maryland and Delaware on there now. May have to dive in and do a little more research and look into that.
You let me know, brother.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Head to
Well, I
Maryland, we'll
appreciate it,
make it
and
happen. Either one of them.
yeah, yeah, man. But we'll talk to you soon, man. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Thank you, buddy.